Oh, hello. Didn't see you there. I don't know why I thought that was a good open. I think I might have found one of the worst, most horrific stories that involve RPG gaming of all time. And that's saying something, because there is some traumatic stuff out there. Now, I love RPG gaming. I'm a huge geek. I mean, no offense, but sometimes nerds could just be the worst. And I say that fully knowing what I am. I definitely got, the nerd role on my Discord account. Like, I've got a cloud tattoo, there's a keyblade right there. Like, I get what I am. And it sucks, especially for new people trying to get into the sport of RPG tabletop gaming. Sometimes when you grab a bushel of nerd grapes, one of them is gonna be kind of a shithead. So I wanted to bring this story to everybody. If it had a title, it would be called Because I'm Chaotic Neutral, because all the best stories have titles, obviously. I have a secret soda stashed behind the camera. But yeah, let's start this cringe fest. Oh my god. Alright, it's been a few years since I've recalled this story, so I'll do his best to retell it, but frankly, the worst player I've ever played with, granted. I don't play with random people from gaming stores much, but every time I have, I seem to find a good group of people aside from this one time. He's playing a Whisper Bard Paladin, and it looks like they had a set up group, and then the DM came to them and said, yo, we got this guy who was pretty chill, can you play? And they're all pretty fine with it. Looks like that was a mistake. First off, we thought he'd be a great addition to the team. He was role-playing his character, eating lunch and talking. He had a bit of an accent and a flair with his mannerisms, so I was pretty happy to have him. He mentioned his character was chaotic neutral. During the first session, he brought his Druid along to help us to safeguard an object of great importance, traveling from point A to B, and this person who we'll be calling the Druid got introduced to someone who could help with that, so we're off, doing a little role-playing, overall enjoying the vibe. While we were crossing a bridge, a young adult green dragon comes to the river and demands us to hand over the object, because apparently he sensed it. I was the face of the party, so I decided to be reasonable with the dragon and try to talk their way out of... Oh, the Druid just casted Call Lightning. I guess we're fighting now. The Druid argues that the dragon should have taken extra lightning damage because he was in water. Okay, not how the spell works, so that's definitely from Baldur's Gate. Oh, let's call that right there. Baldur's Gate added a vulnerability to lightning if the character was wet. DMs can roleplay with that if they want to. I don't suggest using it because it's just like way too easy to break. If they're fully submerged in water, sure. If they're just soaked, give them a disadvantage on saving throws. But don't double damage on lightning. The DM gave him an extra dice of damage as if it was upcasted. The Druid then argues that he should go first in the initiative because he acted before anyone. The DM said that he could have a surprise roll, but he'd have to roll initiative with everyone else. I totally get that, like just saying yes because it's easier to push the story along. But you really gotta understand if it cheapens the other player's time and it makes them feel like they are left out for some reason because that person just argued his way into getting something that he wanted, definitely put your foot down for that. For real, always, the rule of cool, but not the rule of being a twat. The Druid then said that because the dragon was surprised, that he should also be able to get his bonus actions and have a full turn in his surprise round, and the dragon should have rolled with disadvantage. Ugh. At this point, I was looking at the other experienced players at the table. Roll for initiative this time. I did poor with everyone going ahead of me. The DM rolled that the water is shallow this time of year so that we could get in the lake and stand, and it wouldn't be difficult terrain. Fighter does fighter stuff, runs in, attacks the dragon. Warlock does the same, Paladin does the same, Dragon does some attacks, then some damage, and then it's the Druid. I don't know why you all ran into the water. I call lightning. It totally shocks both the Warlock and the Paladin. The mood at the table is instantly soured by this time as the rest of the party is arguing why he's deciding to go on with that, and the Druid argued, well, you saw me do call lightning before. I don't know your character, so I didn't care if they get hit. I understand role-playing a character that is rough and tough, but Dungeons & Dragons is a cooperative storytelling game. If you're not contributing to a group experience, then you are just not really welcome. Mistakes like this happen all the time, and they're totally excused, but continuing this kind of stuff just sucks, man. And to rub salt in the wound, the druid says, and it still does extra damage to the party because of the water, right? The DM seemed befuddled by this entire mess and says tutors were trying to salvage the solution. The turns all go around again, and the druid's turn comes back up and says, I cast Call Lightning again, you guys should have moved, and they get an extra D8. Damn, dude, you should have just came in as a guest NPC. What a narc. He takes the Hexblade down. Fighter is barely alive. Paladin is also barely up. It's my turn, and my instinct as a bard is try to get Healing Word back up to save everybody. But the druid starts saying that because the Hexblade is prone and underwater, that he is drowning and should not be able to hear the Healing Word and cannot be healed. What an absolute dick. Luckily, the DM let me use the message cantrip to get him. That's nice of him. Healing Word, though, the target doesn't need to hear. You just have to be able to see the target, but to really try to make sure that the person gets like the absolute worst scenario is just awful. Everybody got healed up. We got melee back up. We proceeded to wail on the dragon, killing it before the druid's turn. Before we could confront the druid's character, the DM felt heat from the table and called the game. To which we talked to the guy who said the tired old phrase, "I didn't know you guys. It's what my character would have done." And then he left. Before the next session, the Bard and the Warlock did some digging and found out that the Druid hasn't been able to find a game because he has been kicked out of so many other games. Huge red flag. The DM asked us to give him a second chance, and the Druid really needs to socialize and get out of the house. Yeah, the DM definitely knows the Druid. That's the only reason why he keeps putting them in the game. This is like a stepbrother situation for sure. So the next game comes around, the druid comes back, they start playing the games, they actually win a little bit of money, and then they try to have a little shopping episode. The druid, warlock, and paladin were all looking to make the material that they harvest from the green dragon into some armor. The shopkeeper gave a price and a time frame for it to be done. The paladin warlock were all like, okay, cool, but the druid begins demanding to have items be free because in nature you can take what you want. Which would make sense for a druid who probably is new to society, but his character wasn't. The DM made the druid roll for intimidation, and it failed. The warlock and paladin were asked to leave, but the druid then transforms into a bear and tackles the shopkeeper and holds the shopkeeper's throat in his jaw. Oh, I'm so uncomfortable reading that. I don't know what I would do if that happened at my table. Oh, and the druid has an annoying habit of speaking like the animal he's transformed into, and then being upset that no one understood him. God, I hate this guy. So he's demanding the shopkeeper give us all of the items, free and in his bear form, where the shopkeeper cannot understand him. At this point, the paladin stops trying to reason with the druid and smites him so hard that the druid loses bear form. That's rad. The warlock profusely apologizes to the NPC, and they take their material and meet up with the other people as the shopkeeper is going to run to the guards. The druid turns into a panther, chases after the shopkeeper, and kills him in the streets. Again, because he is chaotic neutral. The paladin and the warlock fled the scene, claiming that they didn't see it because they don't want to be around when that gets caught, which is pretty fair. Later on, my character was off to assassinate a target. The fighter knight did that and turned the body invisible so he could dump it outside. The guards were roaming the street, very actively looking for a killer, and even crushing the fighter. However, the body being invisible helped my deception check and we were able to go free. The druid then argued that that's not how invisibility worked, and the DM thought that would be a creative use and allowed me to use it. Invisibility does work on objects, which is what I would say a dead body is, so I don't see why that doesn't work. The druid then tried to get the guards to double check the fighter in me because they were suspicious. Smells like blood, so we might have killed the shopkeeper. The DM didn't roll a deception, and I was kind of mad that my expertise in deception check was now being overwritten by a narc. Narc's a good word, we should bring it back. At this moment I was so frustrated, but I wanted to get some payback to the druid. After taking care of business outside and dumping the body in the lake, the fighter and I offered to investigate the body of the shopkeeper, and with a lucky roll, the fighter determined the wounds belonged to a large cat. Maybe a druid or a shapeshifter killed the shopkeeper, I told the guard. The Druid was pissed, staring daggers at the fighter and me, saying that we were metagaming the situation. It was almost like the Druid saw my players and his opponents as playthings. It was such a bizarre thing, and I don't think we ever got those dragon items made. He says he has more playing with that guy, and God, I don't know how you could continue that. Thankfully, I don't have any nightmare stories like that. If you have a nightmare story, please tell me in the comments. I'm really excited to read them. And if this is the kind of content you like to see, please let me know in the comments too. All Roll for Booty gear is available on rollforbooty.com. They have sleeves though. I kind of went crazy and cut all mine off. Free shipping across the planet, 10% off every item in the cart with the code BOOTY. Love to thank all of my sponsors, but especially those guys right there. Anybody who is in the Adventure Tour or higher in the YouTube memberships get put in the end of credits, and they also get put in a raffle that pulls every Sunday. And it's a short list, pretty easy to get some free stuff. Just saying it. Thank you guys all so much. Bye, I love you.